Hi guys, welcome to the video this week. Today we are going to be talking about how to organise your tracks. Let's take a listen, and it's a Christmassy theme. So there's a ladybird in my room. How unusual. He's just flying about, just doing his own thing. Anyway, right, let's get back to this. So yeah, we're going to be taking a little look at how I've arranged this little piece. In this series, which I'm hoping to finish, we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at the different mixing steps that I would take just for an orchestral piece. Okay, so let's take a little look, shall we? We've got strings, lots of different types of strings, so spics, pizzicato, string longs. Then we've got some solo strings as well, some brass, trumpets, and I think these are just generalized brass from Cinesamples. Woodwinds, I'm using studio woodwinds from Spitfire. Tune percussion is mainly BBCSO. Symbolism, which is I think the cymbals from Damage 2, Armageddon from Damage 2 as well. I just like that they're really, really low and fat, and I didn't want them to overtake anything too much. Then we've got the djembe from Native Instruments, some synth stuff from Serum, and then we've got some hits and rises and whatnot as well. And I think that is it. There's this. I didn't mention what the strings were because there's just so many different types of strings in there, and I think you'll get a great sound. Whatever, these are just the things. These are just the things, the tools that I use. Okay, so before we start off, what I want to do is take a little look at this. So here you can see that I have kind of tried to help you visualize how you should be routing, or at least how I feel that you should be routing your track so that it makes the best sense for when you start to mix. Okay, so you can see right at the top there, we've got the mix bus. Everything goes to the mix bus, but generally you kind of want to set it to two different submixes. Submix A, which is your bus for strings and brass and all of the good stuff from there, and then from underneath that, then you've got your individual tracks. You'll see that I've actually added an extra layer from on here, but that's just because I like to be organized, and I use a feature that is in Logic called Stack Tracks. Okay, but essentially it's exactly the same thing. I've just got another one there that I just take advantage of. And then what I'm calling Submix B. So this is just another summing track that basically bypasses your Submix A. Because for this second one, you don't want any effects that you put on your Submix A to affect your secondary submix. In my Submix B are all on my reference tracks, and I do this for two reasons. One, which I've already stated, which is that we don't want any effects that we put on Submix A to affect your reference tracks, because you're using your reference tracks to help you determine how to mix your track. And secondly, volume. Okay, so your reference track is going to be so much louder than your mix, and you don't want that when you're mixing, because you're going to be competing to try and get to that level, and you're not going to be hearing things quite as intended. So it's great to pull down your reference track after you've got your overall levels. You pull down your reference track to the level of that you've generally mixed your track to, and then start to listen to your reference track and listen to how things are leveled. That is, at least in my opinion, the correct way to do this, so that you're not being tricked by the volume. And underneath that, then we've got effects buses. Yeah, so these would be reverbs, delays, whatever it is. They would just go straight in to your sum 4, so they would bypass, essentially, they would bypass your submix A. They go straight into your sums and then go through to submix A. And this frees up your mix bus. So at the end, after your submix A, you might want to do further processing to maybe just refine things a little bit. Okay, so that is everything essentially in terms of how I would approach it. So let's take a little look at what I've done. Okay, so here you can see that my tracks are all in their own individual folders at first. That's what I said about track stacks. So I use that to organize everything before I start thinking about my my submixes. So then I bus everything together from there. So you can see that all my buses here are all routed. And there's one thing actually that I haven't done yet, and that's keys. So my keys will be going to synths and keys. So I go to here, I go to buses, and I go synth and keys on my output. And that's how you do it. You just use your output to send them all. And I did that for every single track. And at the moment, I don't have any reference tracks in, and that is because I wanted to add them to show you. So I'm going to put no input. Okay. And this then would just go at the bottom, and I will call it ref. Okay, and at the moment as well, I don't want that to be seen. And the hide function here is just H. It's disappeared. So that is there for when I need it, and that is there. So because that is going straight to the stereo out, that is essentially not being affected by anything. We don't need that anymore. Moving on, you can see here then, these are all of the buses that I made. Essentially, I make this as a second step because, one, I might want to do further processing, yeah, but more importantly, I might want to do further automation. And it's a really important thing for me, at least, that I have as many automation strands as I can. I will have automation on my, for instance, tubular bells. But then if it's a really, really complex part, which is not here, then I might want to get more refined. And then I go onto my track stack and I can do automation there. So it's a second layer. I can be more refined. I'm working from general broad strokes, and the more broad strokes I do, layered on top, actually becomes more detail. Yeah, finally, we go to our effects. My effects are actually on my buses here. So that's where my effects are being sent to. I don't need to change my output. I can do, that's no problem. I'll just send my output to the mix, bus 32, and it's fine. Either way works, it doesn't really matter because everything's going to stereo out anyway. And that is it for this video. I'll see you again for the next installment, which will be top-down mixing, where I'm going to be just looking at basically how to approach it, how I approach it. Okay, so thank you very much. This has been longer than I thought. Take care, see you later.